This is section 5.9. We're going to be talking about solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Homework assignment is 48 through 64. A little bit of vocabulary to get us started. The process of writing a quadratic equation so that one side is a perfect square trinomial is called completing the square. A quadratic equation is one that can be written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. For quadratic, what we're looking for is an x squared term. If I just have an x plus 7 equals 6, and as long as I don't have an x squared, we say this is a linear equation. But if I have x squared plus 7 equals 6, the x squared turns it into a quadratic. A little bit of refresher. I want to multiply x plus 2 times x plus 2. So I'm going to use the box. So I have x, I have 2, and I've got x, and I've got 2. When you multiply, remember you need to take the x times the x to get x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. We want to combine like terms. Notice I have the 2x and the 2x. I'm going to combine those to get 4x. So x squared plus 4x plus 4. Example 2, we're going to do a second example. Box method again. I have x and a negative 4, x and a negative 4. X times x is x squared, negative 4x, negative 4x, and a positive 16. Remember, a negative times a negative will give us a positive 16. I'm going to combine like terms, x squared minus 8x plus 16. The thing that I want you to pay particular attention to is that if I have a negative 4x and a negative 4x, those are identical, they're the same. And if you look up here, I have a positive 2x and a positive 2x. Again, those are identical. The reason why is because these numbers are the same. So something to keep in mind. We're going to need to know that. For example 3, we want to fill in the missing pieces. So what I'm looking for is this number right here. If I have x squared, I'm going to put the x squared in the upper left-hand corner. If I have negative 20x, well, I'm telling you now that I want to divide those evenly between these two rectangles. If I want to divide them evenly between the two rectangles, if I have negative 20 divided evenly, I need negative 10 in each box. So negative 10x and negative 10x. Now, as far as what goes on the outside, if I have an x squared here, I have to have an x and an x. To get a negative 10x, negative 10x is negative 10 times x. I've got the x here. I need to get a negative 10 there. And same for down here. I need a negative 10. Now, as far as what goes in the remaining box, that will come from my negative 10 times a negative 10, which will give me positive 100. So this missing piece is positive 100. And if I were to factor this, what I'm looking at is x minus 10 times x minus 10, or x minus 10 squared. Example 4 is similar. I haven't filled in any of the boxes for you. So I've got my x squared. That does have to go in the upper left-hand corner. I've got negative 12x. Well, I'm not going to put negative 12x here because remember they have to be divided evenly between those two places. So if I have a negative 12x and I want to divide it evenly, I need negative 6 in each rectangle. So that means on the outside, I need an x and an x, negative 6, negative 6. What goes in this box right here? We have the negative 6 times the negative 6, or positive 36. So this missing piece is 36. And if we write it as a binomial squared, we have x minus 6 squared. I'm going to have you do example 5 on your own. I also want you to do example 6. Example 7 is similar. We just wrote it differently. So instead of putting an underline, we put a C, but it's the same idea. If I have x squared minus 6x plus some number, I don't know what that number is, I'm going to draw the box. And my x squared has to go in the upper left-hand corner. My negative 6x has to be divided evenly, so negative 3x here and negative 3x there, which puts x and x on the outside, negative 3 and negative 3. If we multiply the negative 3 times the negative 3, we get positive 9. So that missing term right here, C, has to be 9. I'm going to have you do example 8 on your own, and example 9, and example 10. Example 11 is a little bit different. I have something missing in the middle, so same idea. Draw the box, x squared and 49. On the outside, I have x and x. Now, to get my number here and here, remember these two numbers have to match. They have to be the same number. In other words, what number times itself will give me 49? Well, you know that 7 times 7 will give you 49. If we multiply the x times the 7, we get 7x. 7 times x. Combine like terms. So we have x squared plus 14x plus 49. So the missing term is 14x. I want you to take a look though. What would happen? I have x squared and I've got 49. I need two numbers that will multiply to get 49. It's positive 49. Well, you know that if you multiply negative 7 times negative 7, you get a positive 49. So, negative 7x, x squared minus 14x plus 49. Missing term would be a negative 14x. So in this case, there's actually two answers. The missing term is a positive 14x, but you could also put a negative 14x in there as well. You do need both. Example 12, you're going to do on your own, and example 13, and example 14. Let's talk about solving a quadratic equation by completing the square. The first thing you're going to do is divide each side by a. A lot of this is going to make more sense when we actually do it with numbers, but let's just go through the steps. Second thing you want to do is put the constant on the right-hand side of the equation. Third step. This is just a fancy way of figuring out what was in the bottom right-hand corner. So whatever number was in the bottom right-hand corner of that square, that's what we're going to add to both sides. The left side we're going to factor it or write it as a binomial squared. And trying to get down here below. Fifth step, we're going to square root both sides. We learned how to do that in the prior section. Don't forget about the plus or minus. It's important you remember the plus or minus. Whenever we take the square root of x, you have to do the plus or the minus. And the last thing you're going to do is solve for the variable. So, steps to complete the square. There's a lot of steps, but each step is straightforward. There's no tricky parts in any of the steps. I am going to stop the video now. I need to make it into 2 different parts. So, stop. I'm going to pause now.